If you listen to a single travel magazine, you've probably seen the name pop up again and again.
Oh, constantly.
It's consistently voted the best city in the world. It's lauded as the crown jewel of colonial Mexico, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, just, dripping with history and Baroque beauty.
We are talking, of course, about San Miguel de Allende, SMA.
Right, SMA. But let's look at the numbers right off the top.
Let's do it.
It is 40% more expensive than Mexico City.
40%. That's a huge number.
A huge number. And it has no major international airport of its own. And, well, if you have bad knees.
Oh, forget it.
This place is literally a historical cobblestone torture device.
And yet, if you've been there, you know that exact moment. The late afternoon sun hits that iconic pink limestone parroquia and turns that Gothic facade a blazing orange. In that instant, you'd forgive the price tags, you forgive the twisted ankle risk, and you forgive the lack of oxygen.
Yeah, it really does feel like a dream state.
But that captivating feeling is exactly the uncomfortable question we're getting into today for you, the learner.
Okay.
Is San Miguel de Allende offering a genuine, deeply cultural Mexican dream? Or are we experiencing a highly curated, highly optimized, I guess you'd call it a comfortable American fantasy of what Mexico should be?
Right. So what's the mission here?
Our mission is to figure out if that promised colonial culture immersion is truly achievable here, or if you're just, swimming in a very expensive, very beautiful bubble.
I'm your host, here to dive into the soul of the place, unpack that cultural friction, and bring you the travel reality, the stories and logistics you just can't get from the glossy brochures.
And I'm your expert guide here so you don't go broke, get stranded, or accidentally twist an ankle and waste your precious paid time off.
Exactly.
We are diving deep into the sources, focusing on the brutal logistics first, but remaining absolutely honest about the actual experience versus the expectation.
And the timing for this deep dive is, well, it's critical because, frankly, San Miguel de Allende has reached a definitive tipping point.
It really has.
For decades, it was this quiet artist enclave, a kind of best-kept secret for those in the know. But post-pandemic, the floodgates just opened.
It exploded, not just with retirees, but with the digital nomad crowd, and maybe most visibly, the global destination wedding industry.
Oh, the weddings. They've absolutely colonized the Centro Historico.
They really have. And that sheer volume of foreign investment and presence has just fundamentally shifted the city's energy and its economy, which makes this assessment essential right now.
Okay, so before we delve into the history and the hard costs, let's set the stage with 3 immediate, visceral surprises that consistently shock first-time visitors.
Yeah, the ones who've only seen the perfectly filtered Instagram feeds.
Exactly. Expectations matter here, and those glossy images, they lie by omission. Surprise 1, it is cold at night. This is the first failure of imagination for a lot of travelers.
Right, you see pictures of these lush courtyards, and you assume Caribbean warmth.
But you have to remember the physical reality. SMA sits in a high desert climate over 6,000 feet up.
Higher than Denver.
Right. So when that intense, clear sun goes down, that temperature drops dramatically. If you pack only shorts and summer dresses,
You're in trouble.
you will be scrambling for blankets or some very overpriced boutique sweaters. You need layers. You need thick jackets, scarves, even gloves for early morning or late night dinners. It is fundamentally not a beach climate.
Okay, surprise 2. And this goes straight to the core tension of the city.
Yeah.
You'll often hear more English spoken in the main square, the Jardin, than Spanish, especially during peak tourist hours.
And that's an immediate and, well, a jarring realization for any traveler who's seeking genuine cultural immersion.
Absolutely. The dominant social and economic language of that immediate tourist zone, the restaurants, the galleries, the expensive leather shops, it's English. It reflects the demographic that now owns the investment properties, runs the galleries, and consumes all the high-end dining.
It's a literal auditory indicator of the shift in economic power. And surprise 3, which cuts right to the heart of its acclaimed reputation. The food scene is legitimately world-class.
It is.
But the food that makes it world-class isn't necessarily traditional Mexican food.
No, that is a hot take.
I know, but I stand by the sources. It's high-end French, masterful Italian, and innovative fusion restaurants that consistently win James Beard and World's 50 Best Award.
Right. So while the street food is excellent, and you absolutely must do it,
Oh, for sure.
the culinary reputation, the thing that draws the international press, It rests entirely on its international sophistication, not its foundational tacos al pastor.
Precisely.
So these three surprises, the climate, the language, and the cuisine, they bring us to our bold claim for this entire deep dive.
Okay, let's hear it.
And we're going to test and validate this throughout our discussion. San Miguel de Allende is Disneyland for adults.
Disneyland for adults. I think we need to immediately clarify that that comparison is not necessarily an insult.
Not at all. Disneyland is, after all, spectacular.
Right. It's beautiful, it's hyper-optimized, impeccably clean, perfectly safe, and everything functions exactly as promised.
But it's also manufactured. And expensive.
And expensive. SMA offers all those highly desirable, low-anxiety features, but you, the learner, you must go in knowing exactly what fantasy you are paying for.
So our mission is crystal clear. By the time we wrap this up, we will give you the hard costs for budget, mid-range, and luxury travelers, detailing the actual daily burn.
We'll tell you exactly why flying into Mexico City is a classic time and money trap you must avoid.
And we'll offer specific, superior alternatives. We'll also deliver a final verdict matrix advising backpackers, mid-range families, and luxury couples if this expensive, beautiful bubble is truly right for them. Okay, let's unpack this fascinating hybrid culture in what we'll call the context and history dive.
Let's do it.
To understand the San Miguel of today, you have to trace its historical DNA back to the mid-20th century. This wasn't always a tourist mecca. Its current identity was forged in the 1940s.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because the city's revival wasn't purely organic. It was institutional.
Right.
You had a localized, visionary American artist named Sterling Dickinson who saw the potential in this beautiful, cheap, and quiet city. He started an art institute, the Instituto Allende.
And this coincided perfectly with a massive demographic shift happening back in the United States.
The end of World War II.
Exactly. American GIs were coming home with the GI Bill, which provided funds for education.
And they needed cheap places to study art, literature, and liberal arts, and SMA was perfect.
The exchange rate was incredibly favorable to the dollar, and the cost of living was minuscule compared to New York or Paris. They came for the subsidized education, and a lot of them.
They just stayed.
They stayed. They established a permanent, highly cultured, yet distinctly American-influenced expat population.
So that initial wave really set the city's current trajectory. It defined what we might call the gringo colonial culture.
I think the key takeaway from this specific history is this. San Miguel de Allende is an art town first, a Mexican city second.
That's a great way to put it. The identity is inherently split, often placing the needs and tastes of the foreign art community above the traditional local culture.
So if you're traveling here specifically for raw, deep colonial culture immersion, you absolutely must adjust your expectations before you book that ticket.
Right. This is not Oaxaca City.
Not even close. Oaxaca is steeped in indigenous Zapotec culture, traditional cuisine, authentic village life. It isn't even Guanajuato City, which is chaotic, loud, and driven by a massive, vibrant Mexican university student body.
So what does immersion mean in San Miguel, then?
It's something very specific. It's immersion in an aesthetic.
An aesthetic?
It's a highly polished, safe, and manicured version of Mexico, curated and optimized for the high-end visitor who values cleanliness and low effort. If you are looking for that raw, slightly gritty, difficult to navigate, but ultimately unadulterated Mexican experience.
You won't find it here easily.
Not easily. You'll find the idea of it presented beautifully.
And we see this played out in the performance aspect of the city. This is a key part of the Disneyland analogy.
Yes, the mojigangas.
The giant puppets. You see these stunning photos on social media of them dancing through the streets. They are magnificent, standing, 15 feet tall?
Incredible costumes.
Mm.
But the sources point out a crucial detail. They rarely appear for an organic community festival anymore.
They often feel like a performance, and that's because they primarily are a performance.
Right, they're rented out for thousands of dollars to lead wedding parades for affluent couples, largely from outside Mexico.
So while the tradition of the mojiganga is genuinely Mexican used for centuries in local festivals, its primary function now is to enhance the tourist aesthetic or a private, high-cost event.
The culture, while beautiful, is functioning as paid spectacle, emphasizing tourism rather than organic community celebration.
But, and this is where we have to apply the balance, while the demographics and the economy have shifted entirely, the physical architecture is undeniably real and spectacular.
Oh, absolutely. The Baroque Spanish architecture is authentic, and it is incredibly well preserved, almost pristine.
I think we need to get technical for a moment. When we talk about that iconic pink stone, the stuff that glows orange at sunset, we're talking about Cantera,
It's a volcanic stone.
a volcanic stone that's relatively soft but incredibly durable. The style of the main structures, especially the parroquia, is a late form of Mexican Baroque known as churrigueresque.
It's wildly ornate and highly dramatic, but it's completely structurally authentic. It is not a modern facade built to look old.
And what's truly fascinating here is why it's so well preserved.
It links back to the history. The city benefited from nearly a century of economic dormancy.
Exactly. After the silver trade died out in the late 1800s and before the American artists discovered it in the 1940s, the city was largely abandoned, or at least severely neglected.
And that neglect actually protected the architecture.
It meant there was no money or incentive to modernize, demolish, or replace the thick stone walls and elaborate facades. This visually froze the city in its silver boom era.
So the visual history is authentic, even if the current inhabitants and the cost of living are not aligned with traditional Mexican economics.
A vital distinction for the learner. You are walking through history, but you are being served by the present.
And that visual time capsule creates the one opportunity for genuine connection that the sources consistently recommend. The most authentic cultural connection you can make. It involves radically shifting your schedule.
The magic happens in the morning.
In the morning, when you walk the streets early, say between 7 a.m. and 8:30 a.m., before the boutiques, galleries, and rooftop bars unlock their doors.
That's when the tourism machine is paused.
That's when you feel the historical resonance, the ghosts of the silver trade, the most. You see locals sweeping sidewalks, the delivery trucks navigating the tight cobblestone.
And you hear Spanish spoken exclusively.
That silence, that moment before the city starts performing for its foreign patrons, it allows the real historical and community resonance to come through.
It's a vital clue. If you want immersion, you have to actively seek out the times and places the tourism economy hasn't colonized yet.
The authentic experience is still there, but unlike in Oaxaca or Guanajuato City, it requires effort and an early alarm clock.
We've talked about the history that shaped the city, but let's get into the immediate reality check. What does this place actually feel like when you step off that shuttle?
Okay, Section 2. First impressions and the physical reality of the city.
The sensory arrival is intense, and it immediately helps you understand why SMA is so beloved by artists and photographers.
The first thing that hits you is the color palette. Terracotta roofs, ochre walls, deep reds and yellows layered against that pink Cantera stone.
And every building seems to adhere to this stunning, warm color scheme, which is enforced by strict building codes.
Then there's the light. Because of the high altitude, over 6,000 feet, which we said is higher than Denver, the light is piercing, clear, and intensely beautiful.
It's a photographer's dream. The lack of humidity means the atmosphere is crisp, making the colors just pop. This quality of light literally makes everything look more beautiful.
It contributes heavily to that dream state feeling, and frankly, it justifies some of the travel hype.
But the flip side of that altitude is the physical challenge, and we need to be clear about this.
Yeah, the altitude sickness is usually mild headaches, maybe some slight nausea, but the breathlessness is very real for the unacclimated.
You are going to be winded.
Oh, yeah. You walk even 2 blocks uphill, and SMA is fundamentally built on steep hills, and you will be stopping to catch your breath. This isn't a leisurely stroll for the first day or two.
It's a physical adjustment. You have to slow down and prioritize hydration.
And this physical reality quickly intersects with a major logistical pain point that we strongly advise against.
Driving.
Driving.
Yeah.
Strong, emphatic advice. Learn from the mistakes of many travelers. Do not rent a car for use within San Miguel de Allende.
This is more than just inconvenience. It's genuine misery.
The sources confirm the reality. The streets are laughably narrow, almost universally one way, and they were designed literally for donkeys during the colonial era, not for a modern Nissan or an SUV.
Trying to navigate those turns is terrifying, but that's only half the battle.
The other half is the ground itself, the cobblestones. You need to picture this. They are not flat pavers like in Europe.
No, they're round river stones laid side by side. It creates an extremely uneven surface.
And when wet, they become incredibly slick. If you're driving a car trying to stop on a hill or turn into a narrow alleyway on wet, shifting, slick cobblestones is pure misery.
A high-risk situation for scratching a rental car or worse.
And even if you master the driving, you hit the parking problem.
There is zero viable street parking, especially in the Zona Histórico.
You're forced to use expensive public lots, which ironically are difficult to access because of the same narrow, winding streets.
So save yourself the stress, the money, and the potential insurance claim. Arrive via shuttle or bus and rely on walking or taxis and Ubers within the city.
Okay, now let's talk about the city's unique structure, which is a massive clue to its atmosphere.
SMA is built inward.
A crucial architectural feature inherited from Spanish colonial security and temperature control methods. The exterior world is noisy, dusty, bustling.
But the homes, hotels, and public spaces are surrounded by incredibly thick stone walls, sometimes 3 feet thick.
And the magic is what happens when you step through a doorway. Once you enter a hotel or a restaurant, the street noise vanishes entirely.
The thick stone acts as perfect sound insulation.
And it creates these incredible, secret garden spaces, tranquil courtyards, hidden behind intimidating, functional facades.
It perfectly explains why so many luxury experiences feel so removed and serene, even though they are located feet away from traffic and tourists.
The city's chaos and noise are contained entirely on the perimeter, allowing for internal sanctuaries of calm and beauty. It's an essential part of that anxiety premium people pay for.
The one sound you absolutely cannot escape, however, is the sonic heartbeat of San Miguel. The constant, pervasive ringing of the bells from the Parroquia de San Miguel Arcangel. That pink Gothic revival church that looks like a wedding cake dominates the skyline, and its bells dominate the soundscape.
Ringing out the hours, the halves, the quarters, and seemingly every time a wedding is about to start.
While it's deeply charming at midday, it's definitely a significant noise factor if you book an accommodation near the Jardin.
You mentioned earplugs earlier, and we need to reiterate, if you are a light sleeper or you plan on napping, those thick stone walls will not save you from the bells.
They ring multiple times every hour. Earplugs are not optional. They are mandatory for accommodation within 2 blocks of the Jardin.
And finally, a quick note on navigating this physical space. The city has no clear grid system.
Right. It's not like other planned colonial cities. SMA grew organically, following the terrain and the paths of the silver mules. This means instant disorientation for first-time travelers.
That disorientation contributes to that delightful feeling of being lost in a dream or a maze.
You start walking one way, turn a corner, and suddenly realize you're facing the opposite direction from the Parroquia.
And this is where that connectivity note becomes crucial. Download those offline maps. The cell signal often struggles inside those thick, noise-blocking stone walls, and you cannot rely on real-time GPS when you need it most.
Okay, segment 3. Costs, value, and the gringo tax.
Yes, let's stop idealizing the architecture and get to the central financial reality. Prepare yourself, the learner. San Miguel de Allende is definitively not a budget destination.
Not at all, and it demands scrutiny of the value proposition.
The sources confirm the stark reality. SMA is, on average, 40% more expensive than Mexico City.
That puts its prices for many services lodging, high-end dining, imported goods on par with or even exceeding costs in major tourist hubs in North America or Western Europe.
Which demands a detailed breakdown of your expected daily burn.
But the question must be asked, can you still do it on a budget?
The answer is yes, but you will be actively fighting the current of the dominant luxury economy. It requires significant discipline. Okay, let's break it down. The budget traveler backpacker breakdown.
If you're used to the incredibly low cost of travel in Southeast Asia or even other parts of southern Mexico, the costs in SMA will be a shock.
For accommodation, you are limited to a small handful of hostels, like La Catrina or Lodo Azul. Dorm beds here consistently run between $20 to $35 USD a night.
Which is roughly double what you would expect to pay in a place like Puerto Vallarta or Oaxaca City.
The supply's low, and the demand from budget-conscious digital nomads who still want that SMA aesthetic is high, so it drives prices up.
For food, your lifeline is moving outside the Centro Histórico's immediate radius and using the local economy.
You absolutely must use the street carts, or, more reliably, the massive indoor market, the Mercado Ignacio Ramirez.
This is where you find the local specialties, hot, fresh gorditas stuffed with cheese and chiles or tacos de guisado. Here, you can get a filling meal for $5 to $10.
If you must visit on a strict budget, avoid the sit-down restaurants in the Central entirely, even the casual ones. The price difference is immediate and dramatic.
You will blow your budget instantly. Instead, seek out Cocinas Económicas.
The small, local kitchen serving set, multi-course lunches, the comida corrida. Those are the true budget food hacks.
Activities, thankfully, remain mostly free or very cheap. Walking the beautiful streets is free. Visiting the hundreds of small, beautiful churches is free.
Even the entrance to the impressive botanical garden, El Charco del Ingenio, is typically only about $3, and it provides a great respite from the cobblestones.
So if you are incredibly disciplined, using only local markets, hostels, and free activities, your absolute minimum daily burn is still high for a developing country.
What are we talking?
$50 to $60 USD a day minimum, and that excludes the cost of the shuttle to get there.
So our official verdict for this demographic remains no. But if you must go for a short trip, limit it to 2 nights and stick strictly to those food hacks.
Okay, now let's look at the mid-range traveler, which is genuinely the city's sweet spot.
This is the traveler who can afford to enjoy the polish SMA offers without paying the absolute top dollar. This is where the value proposition really becomes palpable.
For accommodation, you're looking at small, luxurious Airbnbs or boutique hotels, typically in the $120 to $200 a night range.
And crucially, this demographic needs to use our neighborhood recommendation. Look at the Colonia Guadalupe.
Yes. Colonia Guadalupe is artsy, known for its incredible street murals and a slightly bohemian vibe. It's quieter, safer, and substantially cheaper than staying right in the Centro Histórico.
But it's still only a manageable 15 to 20-minute walk away. You get the SMA aesthetic without the central noise or the highest price inflation.
Food-wise, you can mix and match effectively. You can enjoy the cheap, authentic market food for lunch.
But you can afford nice sit-down dinners with wine or cocktails. For a quality mid-range experience, expect to spend $40 to $60 per person for that dinner.
It's the financial sweet spot that allows for both authentic local experiences and high-quality international dining.
Activities open up considerably here. You can afford a relaxing trip to the nearby hot springs, like La Gruta, for about $15 to $20 entry.
You can visit the multiple small history and art museums for $5, or, and I highly recommend this, splurge on a guided historical walking tour for around $25.
Those tours are essential for accessing and appreciating those incredible hidden courtyards we talked about.
So your mid-range daily burn falls around $200 to $250 USD per couple, excluding lodging. This allows for genuine comfort and superb dining without constant financial constraint.
Okay, finally, the luxury traveler, which, let's be honest, is the city's target demographic and primary economic driver.
This is world-class, ultra-luxury territory. We are talking about destinations in themselves. The Rosewood, Hotel Matilda, or the Casa de Sierra Nevada.
These are not just hotels, they're immersive, highly exclusive architectural experiences with incredible design and world-class service.
Prices start at $600 and easily climb to $1,500 a night, but here the high cost is truly tied to high value.
The dining is equally high-end. Expect to pay international pricing.
Yeah.
Rooftop tasting menus at places like the restaurant that rhymes with Prince.
Right.
The restaurant will run you $150 plus per person easily, especially once you factor in imported wine.
Activities are pure splurge. Private vineyard tours, hot air balloon rides over the high desert landscape starting at $200 a person, or hiring private chefs.
So the overall question for the luxury traveler is the high cost justified?
And the answer here is a definitive, resounding yes. The value proposition is that the luxury service standards in SMA are world-class.
The concierges, the quality of the linen, the impeccable grounds, the seamless service, it matches or exceeds standards in Paris, New York, or London. If you're paying that price point, San Miguel delivers spectacularly.
So what's the overall synthesis on the cost structure? It all comes back to the gringo tax, but we need to explore this. Why are people willing to pay 40% more here than in Mexico City?
They're paying an anxiety premium.
An anxiety premium, I like that.
The gringo tax is a direct fee on low stress. Travelers are purchasing safety, the guarantee that the city is heavily policed for tourists and that their belongings are secure.
They're paying for infrastructure reliability that might not exist in grittier destinations.
Consistent power, reliable fiber optic internet, high-quality filtered water systems in hotels.
They're also paying for absolute seamlessness. For English fluency, the ability to interact with a concierge 247 in their native language to solve any problem.
For travelers who find the sheer chaos or language barrier of a place like Mexico City overwhelming, San Miguel de Allende offers a low-stress product packaged in a beautiful colonial wrapper.
You pay a premium for the protective, pristine bubble. That structural cost, the anxiety premium, leads us perfectly into Section 4, logistical and planning traps.
Yes, if you're going to pay the gringo tax, you might as well ensure you don't waste money or time on easily avoidable mistakes.
We want the learner to avoid the common, costly mistakes when planning this trip.
Trap number 1, and this is the single most common mistake for North American travelers, the Mexico City CDMX airport transfer.
The trap is seeing those cheap flights into Benito Juarez International Airport and thinking, I'll save $100 on the flight, then just hop on a comfortable bus up to San Miguel.
The reality is a severe time sink. The comfortable first-class bus ride on Primera Plus takes a reliable 4 to 5 hours.
Which doesn't sound too bad.
But the real time killer is getting from the CDMX airport to the correct bus terminal, usually the massive Terminal Norte, and then fighting the city traffic just to get out of CDMX.
That can take an hour and a half alone, depending on the time of day.
You end up losing a whole valuable and exhausting day of your trip just to transit.
So what's the fix?
Simple and critical. Do not fly into CDMX if San Miguel is your primary or sole destination. You must prioritize time over that small monetary saving.
Instead, fly into one of two closer international airports. BJX, which serves Leon Guanajuato and is about 1.5 hours away.
Or QRO, Querétaro, which is even closer, often just an hour away via toll road.
And once you land at BJX or QRO, do yourself the ultimate favor and pre-book a reliable door-to-door shuttle service.
The sources unanimously recommend Buy-You-Go. It costs roughly $30 to $40 per person, and it's door-to-door service directly to your hotel or Airbnb.
It completely eliminates the confusing taxi negotiation, the bus terminal confusion.
It is worth every single penny to save those hours of anxiety and transit time, especially after a long flight.
Okay, trap number 2, the footwear failure. This may sound trivial, but it is critical for comfort, safety, and physical enjoyment of the city.
I can vividly recall seeing an anecdote in the source material about a tourist attempting to descend Calle Aldama, one of the steeper cobblestone streets,
Oh, I know that street.
in completely inappropriate footwear, struggling with every single step.
We must reiterate, the cobblestones are round river stones, not flat pavers. They shift, they're uneven, and they're slick.
Wearing high heels, thin flats, or anything with a thin, flexible sole is an open invitation to twist an ankle or spend your entire trip wincing.
It's genuinely dangerous. It's the most common physical complaint about the city.
The fix. You need thick soles and excellent support. Think heavy sneakers, sturdy walking shoes, hiking boots, or thick-soled sandals with ankle support.
Focus on stability and support over fashion. If you ignore this advice, you will be physically limited in how far and how often you can explore those winding, beautiful lanes.
All right, trap number 3, the nightlife expectation. This often trips up younger travelers or those coming from places like Tulum or Cancun.
The trap is expecting a late-night, all-hours party scene. The reality, as we established, is that SMA is fundamentally an early morning town.
It's driven by retirees, established artists, and high-end dining. Cafes and markets open early, often by 8 a.m.
But by 10 p.m. on a weekday, the streets are eerily dead, especially outside the immediate block of the Jardin.
While there are a few upscale rooftop bars that cater to weekenders from Mexico City, this is not a clubbing destination. If your primary vacation goal is late nights and loud music, this city will disappoint you.
So the fix is to adjust your circadian rhythm to the city's. If you are not up at 7 a.m. to catch the unique morning light, you are missing the best, most authentic, and most visually rewarding part of the entire trip.
Prioritize early morning walks over late-night revelry.
Let's add a quick but important connectivity note here. Essential for digital nomads. SMA is generally well connected. Fiber optic internet is increasingly common in hotels and high-end Airbnbs. Wi-Fi speeds are usually very good.
However, those beautiful, thick stone walls that make the city so quiet also act as massive Faraday cages.
They effectively block cell signals. If you are inside an Airbnb or a hotel room, expect poor to zero cell service.
But if you step out onto the roof deck, which nearly every quality accommodation has, you'll often get perfect service.
So again, download those offline maps before you arrive to avoid getting lost in those winding lanes when your cell signal fails.
And finally, timing is everything. When is the best and worst time to visit?
You should avoid the major holidays unless you crave crushing, shoulder-to-shoulder crowds and inflated pricing. Stay clear of Semana Santa, Easter, and the Christmas-New Year's holiday period.
The city just cannot handle the influx during those peak times.
The absolute best time to visit, based on weather, crowds, and cultural events, is October.
The sources point out that the rainy season has usually ended, the high desert landscape is still green and lush, and the city is starting its preparation for Dia de los Muertos, which is a fantastic, deeply cultural experience.
January and February are also excellent. They're dry, cool, and the light is spectacular for photography.
And the worst time to visit.
May. It is universally cited as the hottest month, and the combination of high altitude, intense sun, and extreme heat makes it genuinely uncomfortable to walk the hilly streets. Segment 5. Safety and comfort. We must responsibly address the elephant in the room. We frequently hear concerning news about cartel violence and civil unrest in the state of Guanajuato. How safe is San Miguel de Allende for foreign tourists? We need nuance here.
We must acknowledge the political geography immediately. Guanajuato State does have major issues, particularly around the industrial corridor that includes cities like Salamanca and Celaya.
However, San Miguel de Allende exists as an economically vital, high-value bubble that is intentionally protected.
The sources suggest that the various economic players, whether licit or illicit, prioritize keeping SMA quiet because of its economic function.
Right. The high level of foreign capital flowing in from luxury real estate, high-end weddings, sustained tourism, it's essential to the regional economy.
Any disruption, particularly violence targeting foreigners, would dry up that foreign money instantly, which would be economically detrimental to all activities, illicit and otherwise.
And this priority is backed up by visible force. The personal safety experience of visitors reflects this bubble maintenance.
Right. Hosts and sources indicate feeling safe walking late at night and very early in the morning. There was a heavy, visible police presence, specifically tourist police.
They're trained to be helpful, visible, and generally non-confrontational. The city feels protected, and that is a key part of the anxiety premium we discussed.
So the biggest risks here are not violent crime in the way you might fear. The biggest risks are economic scams and health-related issues.
Let's talk about scams. SMA is beautiful, and people often fall in love and decide they want to buy property.
Be extremely cautious. The high demand from foreigners means real estate prices are heavily inflated, often far exceeding their actual valuation within the Mexican economy.
Do thorough due diligence and hire legal counsel that specializes in foreign property transactions.
The ATM skimmer scam is another risk, which is common in tourist cities globally.
But the specific advice here is critical. Only use ATMs that are inside the actual bank branches, specifically major international banks like Scotiabank or Bancomer, right on the Jardin.
Do not use the standalone exposed ATM machines in convenience stores or on the street. Those are much easier to tamper with.
Health-wise, the most common issue is, of course, the dreaded Montezuma's revenge.
The tap water in SMA is definitively not potable. While high-end hotels and restaurants use filtered water, you must remain vigilant when eating out, especially at smaller local establishments.
You must follow the strict rule. If it's not boiled, peeled, or cooked, don't eat it unless you are certain the vendor is using purified water.
This means being wary of salads, raw vegetable garnishes, and especially unbottled aguas frescas or raw fruit juices.
Ice is usually safe in tourist-facing establishments, but if you're unsure, ask or just stick to bottled beverages.
And let's reiterate the climate health factor. The high desert air is incredibly dry. You will become dehydrated much faster than you realize, which compounds altitude sickness effects.
Drink more water than you think you need. A small but vital tip for comfort. Bring saline nose spray and heavy lotion.
The dryness will wreak havoc on your skin, eyes, and sinuses if you aren't prepared.
Finally, we must return to the most critical physical warning, the mobility barrier. This city is absolutely unequivocally not accessible. We cannot stress this enough.
It is, to use the source term, a torture device for anyone with bad knees, or who requires a wheelchair, a walker, or even needs to push a large stroller.
This is not an exaggeration. The architectural preservation, while beautiful, is hostile to mobility. Sidewalks are an absolute horror show.
They're extremely narrow, sometimes only 12 to 18 inches wide, and they often have telephone poles or power boxes built right into the middle, forcing pedestrians to constantly step out into the narrow, traffic-laden cobblestone street.
If you are traveling with elderly relatives, anyone requiring physical assistance, or young children in strollers, you need to understand that every single block will be a challenge.
There are very few ramps. This city was preserved precisely because it was built before modern accessibility standards, and the thick historical architecture makes adaptation prohibitively expensive and often impossible. This should be a non-negotiable factor in your planning. Now that we've covered the logistics and the pain points, let's inject some humanity back into the conversation. Segment 6. Best moments, disappointments, and alternatives.
Yes, let's discuss the experiential highs and lows to give the learner a truly balanced view.
Okay, so what stood out to you as the moment where the curated environment faded and that authentic colonial experience shone through? Where was that elusive colonial culture immersion achieved?
For me, it was one evening, completely unplanned. I was hiking up to the Mirador, the main lookout point, around 6 p.m., just as the sun began to dip.
Magic hour.
The light was incredible, turning the Parroquia blazing orange exactly as promised. And then I heard it, A slightly off-key mariachi band started practicing nearby.
Oh, wow.
They were on a quiet side street, not for tourists or money, but just for themselves, running through their repertoire.
That's amazing. That's the real deal.
It was cinematic, beautiful, and felt entirely unmanufactured. The whole scene was framed by the historical architecture, the perfect light, and a purely local sonic element. That was it. That was the immersion.
The difference between buying the performance and stumbling upon the reality. My best moment was logistical,
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
It was a realization that the local economy still functions despite the high prices. I needed laundry done urgently. Found a local lavanderia tucked away outside the main centro.
Okay.
They washed, dried, and perfectly folded 5 kilograms of clothes for only $4 USD.
No way. $4.
$4. That incredible value, existing in a city where a coffee costs $5, was a refreshing reminder of the local engine running beneath the surface.
And we can't forget the food highlight. Despite our skepticism about the fusion food, the breakfast at Lavanda Cafe was a winner.
The lavender latte. It sounds so pretentious on paper, doesn't it?
Incredibly pretentious for a high-desert Mexican town, but the pairing of the floral notes with the intense coffee, it actually complements the crisp, high-desert air perfectly.
A delicious, unexpected highlight.
Okay, now for the letdowns. Where did the manufactured experience fail or expose its cost?
The artisan market. A major letdown. I went in looking for genuine local crafts, unique San Miguel-specific items, maybe regional pottery or weaving traditions.
What would you find?
The same mass-produced crafts, the identical painted alebriches and woven bags that you see in coastal tourist towns like Puerto Vallarta, but often marked up by 50%.
Right.
If you want genuine, unique local artists, you have to dig deep into specific small galleries, far away from the main thoroughfare.
My disappointment was a specific dinner experience that confirms our gringo tax synthesis.
Rooftop trap.
The rooftop trap. The sources mention a very famous rooftop spot where you might have paid $18 for a margarita. The view was undeniably 1010 spectacular sunset over the parroquia. The food was mediocre, and that $18 margarita tasted exactly like cheap fluorescent mix. It confirms the rule. At many of these famous spots, you are paying exclusively for the view, and the culinary quality is secondary.
So if San Miguel, with its high cost and lack of raw authenticity, sounds like it might be too much of an American fantasy for your preferences, what are the alternatives?
We have two major recommendations. Alternative 1, Guanajuato City, only 1.5 hours away, making it an easy addition or replacement.
Guanajuato City is the state capital, and crucially, it's a true university town. Its energy is driven by young, vibrant Mexican student life, not foreign retirees.
It is gritty, chaotic, and loud. It's famous for its stunning, confusing labyrinth of colorful streets and a network of underground tunnels used for vehicle traffic.
The pros are huge. It's dramatically cheaper than SMA, there are significantly fewer Americans, and the energy is authentic Mexican life, not tourist performance.
The cons. It's far more challenging to navigate if you don't speak Spanish, and it's far less manicured. You swap the safety bubble for real, functioning Mexican chaos.
Okay, alternative 2, Oaxaca City. If your primary goal is culinary excellence and deep indigenous culture, this is the destination.
The pros are undeniable. It's widely considered to have the best, most complex food in Mexico, the land of mole, mezcal, and layudas.
It has deep cultural and indigenous roots that are still practiced and visible daily. Unlike SMA, the artisans who create the crafts are actually working and living in the villages nearby, making the culture truly accessible.
The cons. It requires a dedicated flight to the south, and because of its growing fame, it is getting hotter and more crowded every year, though it still feels vastly more authentic than SMA.
Okay, so for the learner who wants to maximize variety and contrast, we have a combo itinerary recommendation, a 10-day trip.
Fly into Mexico City for 4 days to get that massive metropolitan cultural experience. Then take a luxury bus up to Querétaro for 2 days to experience a beautiful but more functional working colonial city.
And finally, take the Bajíogo shuttle from Querétaro to San Miguel for 4 days for the highly refined, romantic, aesthetic experience. Then fly out of the nearby BJX airport.
This sequence provides the best possible contrast. The real Mexico, the working Mexico, and the fantasy Mexico side by side. Segment 7. Final verdict matrix and overall synthesis. It's time to deliver the final assessment by traveler type.
Let's run through our verdict matrix. First up, the backpacker budget traveler.
Verdict, no. Skip it entirely unless you use our 2-day hack. You will blow your budget almost immediately.
And the lack of young, vibrant nightlife means you'll feel bored and alienated by 10 p.m.
We strongly recommend Guanajuato City or San Cristobal de las Casas instead. Your money goes 200% further, and the social scene is more robust.
Okay, the mid-range couple. Anniversary romantic trip.
Verdict, yes. Absolutely. It is incredibly romantic, the dining is superb, it feels safe and secure, and it's easy to navigate for a short 3 or 4 day stay.
Perfect for an anniversary or birthday trip where that polish and low anxiety are the priority.
The family trip.
Verdict. Caution. If you have teenagers, they might be incredibly bored by the focus on architecture and dining.
If you have toddlers, the cobblestones and narrow, obstacle-ridden sidewalks make strollers a genuine nightmare.
And if you're traveling with 8 to 12-year-olds, you must book a hotel with a pool. They will not appreciate the Baroque preservation for 5 days straight, but they will happily spend hours in a pool.
True. Finally, the luxury traveler or retiree.
Verdict. Yes. This city was quite literally built and maintained for this demographic.
The high-end hotels are spectacular, the concierges make everything seamless, and you are paying for the world-class service standards you expect. A spectacular choice.
So what's the overall final verdict on San Miguel de Allende? The synthesis of all our sources.
From a logistics and financial standpoint, yes, it is drastically overpriced compared to the rest of Mexico.
But it successfully delivers a specific, high-quality, low-stress product. It is Mexico light, easy, beautiful, and predictable. If you prioritize ease and safety over raw authenticity and cost, it delivers.
And from an experience standpoint,
it's overwhelmingly beautiful, the light is magical, but it fundamentally feels like a museum that is slowly but surely being curated and bought by foreigners.
our strong recommendation is to go now.
Go now, because the sources suggest that in 10 years, it might transition from a beautiful functioning museum into a pure, sanitized theme park.
And the chance for those fleeting, authentic moments like the practicing mariachis will disappear entirely.
But for a few days of stunning light, architectural beauty, and incredible sophisticated dining.
Yes, it is absolutely worth the expense, provided you know exactly what you are paying for.
So 2 non-negotiable tips to maximize your trip based on everything we've covered.
Don't bring heels.
And wake up early. Let's leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over, building on the tension we started with. We established that the city's stunning visual character, the Cantera stone, the Baroque architecture, is real, frozen in time by a century of economic abandonment.
Right, before the artists and later the high-end foreigners arrive.
So if the city's current economic engine runs purely on foreign money, which pays the gringo tax primarily for the maintenance of a manicured aesthetic and a sense of safety, what does that mean for the preservation of its actual colonial history versus the increasing commercialization of its look? Is preservation still serving its historical purpose when the life that sustains the city's economy is entirely external?
Food for thought as you plan your next trip. The learner. Remember that every destination is a choice, and every choice comes with trade-offs. Keep reading, keep exploring, and thanks for trusting us with your deep dive.
Safe travels.